afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Dr. Rishi Bhatnagar, and I have been asked today to talk about realizing the potential of Internet of Things. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I am chairperson for the Internet of Things panel for IET, and I am also a co-author of a first book on this topic. So let me see if I'll be able to add any value, but hopefully I'll be able to do that. I usually start my presentations and discussions on Internet of Things by showing this by showing the evolution of how the mankind has grown in this world and how the different revolutions took place. So we all know, even though it's minus 1000 before Christ, that means approximately 11,000 years since the mankind arrived on this earth. But the first revolution, in a sense, took place in 1880s, 1850s, when the Industrial Revolution took place. And if you see, if you categorize what is a revolution has four characteristics. It changes the technology. So the charkha left and the machines came. It improved the productivity. A weaver used to take days to weave one cloth, and now it takes multiple meters of cloth can be constructed by a particular machine. It will have an impact on the society. After the Industrial Revolution, there were universities that are opened. The women started going and working in a factory, so on and so forth. And the way the business used to happen was also changed. So there are four characteristics of a revolution. First, it changes the productivity, it changes the technology, it changes the society, it changes the business, the way you do business. The second revolution came approximately 150 years back after the first revolution, when the Internet revolution took place, and we all have been part of that. So it has changed the society, it has changed the way the business happens, the way the productivity has improved, and definitely the technology changed. Now coming to the Internet of Things. Now Internet of Things is the third revolution that has taken place. From 1990s, in 2010 onwards or 11 onwards, we are seeing the third revolution. And it is, if you see, it is again joining the technologies together. So analytics, machine to machine, the devices, the network, everything is combining to create something called Internet of Things. And it is going to be disruptive. It is going to be the next wave of transformation change. So this is the next revolution which has arrived. The good part is that the brain of a mankind is maturing. So it took 11,000 years to do the first revolution, but 150 years for the second, and only 20 years for the next. And the next wave of revolutions will be dependent upon this new technology wave, and I'm sure we'll see many more innovations and revolutions coming in our way. If you start thinking about the issues the world is facing right now, the world is facing the aging population. So how to do the health care, how to ensure that the people in this world are getting the proper care is what we need to think of. Then the rapid urbanization, and we all in India have seen this, that how the rapid urbanization is taking place, and then the climate change. And we all are aware the kind of things that are happening as per the climate change. And we'll see that for all three of these, the Internet of Things is going to provide solutions, and we'll have enough number of solutions to manage that. I'm just showing you some statistics which GE has produced, and they have given the 15-year outlook. If we'll be able to save some fuel cost saving in the aviation industry, and we'll be able to save something, say for 1% or 2% maximum, even then it will produce around a 30 billion cost reduction. We are expecting 92 million vehicles to have Internet of Things, Internet connectivity by 2016. The productivity improvement in the healthcare sector because of Internet of Things is going to create a 63 billion US dollar worth of money, so on and so forth. One very good analysis which they have done is 68% of the crime rate can be reduced by video surveillance. If these are the kind of benefits we can achieve from Internet of Things, I'm sure it is something which is going to create a lot of benefit for all of us, and it has huge amount of potential in future. If we start thinking in terms, one of the other leaders in the IoT space is Cisco. And Cisco says with the time and value, the Internet of Things evolving the business value is enormous. So quick response time, proactive problem mitigation, more efficient maintenance, streamlined operations, improved quality, business opportunity, new business opportunities, and then greater customer satisfaction and loyalty and lifetime value. This is what we can expect from a huge competitive advantage by implementing Internet of Things solutions. Some prospects or some kind of, there is a 6% growth expected in the global economy because of Internet of Things. And if you see the numbers, the additional revenue expected is somewhere around 344 billion. The global economy by 2020 will be around 100 trillion. Revenue redistribution will be somewhere around 3.5 trillion. So some of the work which we are currently doing will be redistributed to IoT, and that will be somewhere around 3.5 trillion, but the additional revenue that can be generated is around 350 billion. Value to end customers. So you can see the huge numbers. So IoT will materially disrupt. There will be winners and losers. And who will be winners? Who will be able to go into the Internet of Things way, and people who will not will be the losers. It's like a sunset and a sunrise. If you are going to interrupt, you will become a digital organization implementing Internet of Things solutions, then you will be able to generate, you will become a winner, else you will be a loser. But I just want to share one point here. Irrespective of whether Internet of Things looks jazzy and the good solutions, but the main point is, unless it's going to generate more revenue or it's going to provide my operational efficiencies that will drive cost and improve the customer satisfaction, these are the only three things which the boss sees. So the board, irrespective of whether they were there before 1850s when the Industrial Revolution happened, or today, the three criteria for any new technology to succeed will continue. And they should be creating new markets and changing the way world works and create new revenue generation streams, or it should help me in improving my EBITDA margins, or it should improve my customer satisfaction level. As a result, I can grow my revenue and keep the customer loyalty with me. So if I just at a very high level, we are already providing connectivity to many things. If I connect it to sensors and get the data through the connectivity and start processing that data and start analyzing it and creating some kind of analytical reports and triggers, irrespective of whether it's phone connected to your home and making it a smartphone or a smart building or a smart campus, by adding connectivity to the basic functionality, add sensors to increase functionality, and find a convenient new ways to the technology to possibility to create some data processing and analytics. This is what Internet of Things is. And the quality, privacy, affordability, interoperability, economic of scale, security, transparency, and confidentiality has to be maintained. Depending upon this is what Internet of Things is, and we are working on seeing how to provide different kind of ways of creating different solutions on Internet of Things. I just thought of, while there are a number of things, if I see the 6 components, the smart services, mobile and cloud services, application enhancement partners, data center analytics, network, hardware, device connectivity platforms. In all of these, you see the device cost or the sensor cost will keep on constant or reduce. The connectivity cost will also will grow slightly, but the majority of the cost or the price or the value is increasing when you are providing the smart services. And services is the area where the majority of the revenue will be. And currently, if you see 2012, and then you see the overall 2015 M2M revenue distribution, the maximum revenue or the pyramid has reversed. The connectivity will remain constant, but the professional services, business intelligence. So for a connectivity provider, it is a new stream of business How can they ensure that connectivity revenue continues and it grows with the kind of data analytics and the business intelligence they can provide? And that's how they can make more money, and it is a revenue potential to upside down. Many people have a lot of confusion about M2M and then to Internet of Things. I'm not sure if this presentation will be available, but M2M is the way the thing started and how to connect devices and associate some application to it. They have fixed solution parameters and it has a structured data. But when you make it to intranet of things and then to subnet of things and then the internet of things, in case of internet of things, it is an enterprise solution and that can seamlessly share data, complex application and data analysis, and there are a number of other categories in which you can define. So starting from a machine to machine and taking it to the internet of things, you are providing more and more data, not only speed and semantics, but semi-structured or unstructured data. How can you predict and how can you have more analytical reports that can help you in decision making and taking it forward? I like to focus a bit on India, okay, because our business is in India, and the way the current government is talking about different kind of aspects, I really want to share the Internet of Things market in India. The Indian GDP is expected to be $1 trillion. IoT to boost GDP by $1 trillion by 2025. And the government of India announced plan to create a $15 billion IoT market in the country by the next 5 years. That is 5 to 6% of global IoT industry. And if you see the number of connections, in 2013 we were less than 1 billion connections. And by 2023, we are expecting it to be around 2 billion. So we are expecting a 4-time growth, double the growth of the number of connections in next 10 years. And I am honestly thinking, this is the research paper from one of the companies which has provided this data to us. But my personal belief is, with the way Digital India, Smart City, Ganga Rejuvenation, so on and so forth, the kind of programs that are currently going on, the numbers will be much higher and we can expect a much bigger number than what is shown here. Like to give you some examples of the early adopters in the Internet of Things space. And I have one slide each on all of these. But energy and utilities, auto sector, manufacturing, municipalities, agri sector, healthcare, all of these are the early adopters, and I can give you examples of many of the areas where they are happening. Starting with the energy management. We all know there are different kind of power plants. So, the thermal power, nuclear power, hydro and solar, wind and biomass. In India, currently, the productivity or the production output from a thermal power plant is in the range of 65 to 70. Whereas in the international standard, it's around 90%. If you see nuclear, but the challenges are more in the thermal and the hydro power. Similarly, in the grid, the transmission losses is around 2%, and India is also showing 2%. But the power loss during distribution is 8 to 10% internationally and 35 to 40% in India. And if you start thinking, how can we improve the smart meter as a solution to decrease implementation of the theft and losses in the distribution space. Similarly, building energy management system will help in reducing the energy requirements and help in consumption and the carbon footprints. The smart grid solutions will help in the grid losses, which we are currently focusing. And we now have number of Internet of Solutions which will be able to improve the efficiency in the production plants and take it to somewhere around 90%. If all of these combine together, if we are able to reduce our losses from current 35 to 40%, the energy requirements of India will decrease. And the energy and if you only, I just give you an example, if we take LED bulbs implemented in India, we might not require 2 nuclear plants, okay, which is a huge cost and the huge, having also the risk. So combining all of this together, the amount of technology requirements and technology help is enormous, And if I see in terms of number, India is to invest around $21 billion in the smart grid infrastructure in the next decade in a bid to curb the rampant electricity theft and all. So there's a huge opportunity in the electricity energy management solution. Now, taking the next in the automotive space, the connected vehicles and the related services, we are seeing a lot of, the fleet management, intermodal services, e-call, usage-based insurance, so on and so forth kind of smart parking kind of solutions coming, and the automotive industry is working on that. And my expectation is that the online remote diagnostic and prognostics will definitely help, and it's also a huge industry where there's a huge amount of implementation. The Indian automotive segment account for 7% of the India GDP. Annual turnover, etc. is there. The internet enablement of cars now has a $30 billion market in India, and by 2020 this market is supposed to grow nearly 6 times. So again, it's a huge opportunity. And if I only see for the telecom firms, which will be the connectivity provider, in next 10 years, it's a $30 billion worth that is estimated coming only from this. And the chip makers and the insurance firms and the auto firms, again, it's a huge number which we can't even miss. Coming to the smarter cities and the smart city initiative, and I can easily talk for hours on this particular topic, power, water, healthcare, so on and so forth. There's many of such, and garbage, and many of such solutions are required and to manage the kind of challenges which we are currently facing. And honestly, how the technology can help the smart parking, smart energy waste management, smart the meters, all of these combining together. And I have a slide later on the telemedicines and the tele-education, which I'm going to talk about how the water management or the others can be managed. So again, this is a huge budget that has already been submitted. The public private partnership model to be followed by government. And honestly, the government has been very quick that in the last 18 months of this government coming, we have name of the cities and the framework already available of how to implement and make our cities smarter. Within Tech Mahindra, I belong to this organization and the Mahindra group. We have already implemented majority of our IoT solutions, whether they are the smart barrier management or smart parking or security and surveillance or overall, which we can say. The smart building energy management systems, smart lights, street as well as interior, smart bin, which is more of the waste management, and also the automated meters and so on and so forth is already implemented in a 3,000 acres of land, which is called the Mahindra World City Jaipur. Around 25 kilometers from the center of the city on the Ajmer Road. If you like, you can go and see how these solutions are running and what kind of benefits we have been able to achieve. I'm really proud that 15% of the energy consumption has been reduced by using smart lights as a service, which we have implemented in the city. Not only by implementing LED, additional to LED implementation is what we have already achieved in the city. We are doing security and surveillance in Lucknow. And so a number of other solutions we have already implemented, which are already providing benefits. So people were thinking whether it's a business case or not. We invested, created labs, living labs, and tried to extrapolate it to see what kind of benefits anybody can ensure. And we have that data of how the energy consumptions can be reduced and how can we return on investments. Smart city, so smart, a 45 to 50 billion opportunity in India for the next 5 years. Potential business opportunities in the smart water management, energy, transportation, waste management. And we have details of all of these and how can we work. And all of these solutions are nothing else but Internet of Things. Now coming to the next part, which is the disruption in water and the waste management. And we all are, the Clean Ganga mission, the Ganga rejuvenation plan, and the kind of detailing which has been done on that, the waste, the report on the waste, the sewage generation and existing capacity, so on and so forth. The integrated pollution abatement with help of sensor-based IoT solutions, the intelligent industrial automation, the soil conservation, the riverbed monitoring, all of these are again the Internet of Things solutions. We need to see which area, whether it's a smart farming, where we need to see what is the quality of soil, the smart controls, how to get the weather information, how to create different kind of farming. And farming not only include the agriculture production of crops, but also how will you manage your cattle and improve the productivity. All of these will be the next level and a work that will be required to be done to improve the productivity. On the Ganga rejuvenation, what we are expecting is to have an online dashboard of which factory has generated more pollution than the allowed one, and the alerts will be online, immediate, and we'll be able to see all of these in near future. I wish this program works and this program will be able to result in a cleaner Ganga. The overall global precision farming market will be worth 3,721 billion. So I am talking about a huge amount of money here, and in India, with the kind of work which is happening and the kind of focus the government has given, I am expecting that there will be a huge potential for everybody, the system integrator, the chip manufacturer, the connectivity providers, and the SIs like ours. Last not the least is the healthcare industry. And if you start seeing the kind of challenges which we are facing, being the second largest population in the world, we are also the largest, the capital of all the big diseases. So we are the diabetic capital, or we are the cardiac capital, the cancer capital. Nothing to be proud of, but to be sad of. Okay. But if we further see, there is an acute shortage of paramedical and administrative professionals. The industry currently needs 1.54 million doctors and 2.4 million nurses to match the global average. Further, if I'll see the statistics, while 70% of our patients are from the rural area, the 75% and 23% of the qualified medical practitioners are in the urban and semi-urban areas, which means that the 70% of the population lives somewhere else and the 75% of the trained staff is available somewhere else. So how can we disrupt, and how can we help how can technology enable to disrupt different ventures and create how Internet of Things can help in these healthcare challenges? The remote diagnosis through mobile internet, telemedicine, teleradiology, and low-cost screening of devices, all of these can result in that. Medical devices can be operated with basic literacy skills, so how can you improve this, and so on and so forth. So we have a number of ideas of how can we do, and technology can help in the healthcare sector. So from energy to auto, from auto to manufacturing, manufacturing to smart cities, smart city to agri and water, not the healthcare. I can keep on continuing with the kind of things which we are there, and there will be no dearth of examples, because if I talk about the Digital India initiative, and by next year all the 2,500 Gram Panchayat to have the broadband connectivity, the basic requirement for a connectivity availability will be there. As a result, all these solutions are possible, and there is no dearth of opportunities in India. So India's telemedicine market is expected to be more than doubled to about 19 million by 2017 from 8 million today in 2012. So we are among the largest adopter of the mobile healthcare, and the adoption rate is also very high. So with a country which is more than 1 billion people having mobile, around approximately 250 to 300 million having smartphones, broadband availability to majority of the country including the rural areas, we are seeing the kind of challenges which our country will be facing to be more or less in the right direction, so that we will be able to give better value, better position to our country. I requested my team to put this slide for me, okay, because I really wanted to highlight, I started with the revolutions. I want to highlight that India has a DNA, and it's time tested that we have an invention and innovative mind. Whether it's yoga, which was existing over 5,000 years ago, plastic surgery, which is 600 before Christ, first cataract surgery, 2,500 years back, consolidated Ayurveda, 2,500 years ago, binary, 0, 1, radio and wireless technology, fabricated and movable structure. You will be surprised to know that the first flush toilet was in the Indus Valley civilization. So while we are today far behind, but in Indus Valley civilization, we were using the flush toilets. The diamond mining started here, the Aryabhatta invented zero here, so on and so forth. So whether we divide into the medical or the communication or the infrastructure, we had the innovative mind. So why since last so many around 1,000 years, there has been no new innovation that happened? So first, as I said in my initial slide, the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution, when it came, we were under the rule of British, and Britishers never, as a colony, we were used as a market. So we didn't prepare ourselves for the revolution that is coming. So from charkha to factory, it came as a surprise, and all those who were the weavers had no job to do. But when we were in 1990s and the internet revolution started, majority of the innovators went to United States, the Silicon Valley, because that was the one which provided then the infrastructure and the opportunity to become Google or Facebook or Twitter and participate in that environment to create that. But we utilized that opportunity and we became the IT services providers, and we utilized that opportunity to create huge amount of jobs in India. Now, when the government is working on the Startup India, the infrastructure creation, so on and so forth, I have no doubt that the innovative and inventive mind of Indian, which is in the Indian DNA, will result in the huge amount of new revolutions and new opportunities that will come in our world. Last slide, the current roadblocks. When we talk about the Internet of Things, there are a number of things which are involved, whether it's government, industries, big data, security, system integration, academicians, research, standard companies, standard and technology and connectivity. But a solution has to be cost sensitive. And if you see, the connectivity cost is getting reduced, the hardware cost is getting reduced, the services cost is getting reduced. So while the market is always a cost sensitive market, it is a roadblock which is getting reduced. Right skill sets. I want to spend a minute on this. When we talk about Internet of Things, it is a combination of three projects. One from a manufacturing industry, the other one from the communication industry, and the third one is from the SI. Do we have the right skill set available to deliver those kind of solutions? I have doubts. And we have to work on creating that, and that's an area where we need some kind of more investment to ensure that our people get those kind of skill set and we are able to deliver those projects. Security and privacy. One thing which many people might not have thought, if you think only say about healthcare industry is very much security, and they have a lot of regulations and security and privacy policies that you are not allowed to get the medical data out of the hospital, and so many things are there. But now we are talking about remote health patient monitoring. We are talking about devices which are put in remotely monitoring a person and seeing how their healthcare is behaving. So if something goes wrong, how the security policy will work, how the privacy policy will work. So in the combination, when it's not only the hospital which is doing something, but a team remotely monitoring what kind of security norms, what are the privacy norms are to be there, that's something which people have to work. Complex interoperability. So I'm wearing a device and I went from Delhi to Chennai. Is the same operator available? Is the interoperability issues are there? What kind of challenges we are going to face? The culture and mindset. And I am very happy to tell you on one of the experiments which we did. For people who are more than 65 years of age, we did a remote patient monitoring kind of thing, and they all were wearing devices and we were remotely monitoring them. The idea was to see how much less discussion they're going to have with their doctors. How can we proactively do some kind of remote monitoring of their healthcare and start doing it? But you will be surprised to know that the number of calls increased. The women in the night before sleeping used to give a call to the doctor and say, "Sir, is my data coming? Am I fine?" So the consciousness that somebody is continuously remotely monitoring me was the kind of the mindset change that has to come, where the cultural issues need to be taken care of. So lack of standard and critical layer for IoT solutions that I have already discussed in terms of security and policy. The regulations are not keeping up with the faster technological advancement and limitation from the legacy system. These are the kind of technology challenges which are there. But honestly, we are working very closely with the government of India as well as different standard organizations and trying to see how can we reduce these roadblocks and how can we create the things better. Last slide. Who will trigger the next explosion? So when we know that there is a huge market potential, when there is a huge need for new solutions to be invented and come out, there's a now time to see who will trigger the next explosion. And that's where I really like to end, and will be happy to have any questions and anything you like to ask me. Let me see if I'll be able to answer.
Share the questions.
You have to help me, sorry.
Questions.
So, you want me to speak out the answers?
Know the question and with the name of the person who asked.
Okay, sorry, I just clicked it out.
The questions. Yeah.
So let me, it is Subhakar Chakravarti. India's IT infrastructure being so fragile, don't you think it will hinder growth of IoT in India? I totally believe that what you are saying is right. It is one of the challenges which I have already highlighted. But with the kind of investment that the government of India is currently doing in the Digital India initiative and creating, the kind of infrastructure required to run the Internet of Things, I believe that in the next 1.5 years, the infrastructure will be good enough to handle the IoT solutions in India. Is IoT in agriculture is desirable, feasible, and has business sense? Nilesh Shah. Nilesh, I personally feel there is a huge, the desire is so high. 70% of our people live on agriculture. There is a huge business sense. How will I be able to, more the slogan our Prime Minister has given. How can we give the soil cards? All of these are one way or the other the Internet of Things solutions. So I personally believe that there is a huge desire, there is a huge business sense in providing IoT in agriculture. Okay, you said that the majority of population of India don't know how to use most of the IoT products. I say with 50% of Indian population being illiterate, but around 80% of 88% of our population can use a mobile. Okay, it's how can I use it so user friendly that education level doesn't need any kind of change, any kind of impact is what it's on us. How can I make my solution so user friendly that a person who is not even literate can do it? I can give you an example that, majority of Indians are still using that 2000 rupee Nokia phone. And how can I have in the local language, and how can I have a voice coming out of that saying the Barish is samay aayegi, okay, in the local language. That is what is required, and these are the kind of innovation that will be required to ensure that we are able to cater to the market that we are currently working on. How do you think IoT is going to help in the agri extension area? Agri extension. When the program of IMD and other private players working for the last few years has not been able much of the success. It is the infrastructure. As I said, majority of the challenges are more on the infrastructure side. As per the Digital India initiative, if 250,000 gram panchayats will have a broadband connectivity, optical fiber, and we are expecting it by next year, the number of challenges will definitely reduce. The Gram Panchayat Bhavan will act as a remote patient monitoring area. It will act as a school where the teacher sitting in Delhi and Mumbai can go and teach from their own rooms to the thousands of students sitting in different villages. So it will be a complete revolution. My expectation is that with the kind of infrastructure growth which we are trying to do in India, it will be a big opportunity, and we expect something good to happen. What are the prerequisites for the IoT to be successful? I have mentioned that, and for me the innovative idea is something which is a key. Mobile, whether the lady who comes to clean her house has a mobile phone, a beggar has a mobile phone, a person who comes to sell the vegetables has a mobile phone. So how can I make it user friendly, and how can I ensure the solution is customer focused is something which is going to help us. IoT is, in my view, is the combined power of both IT and electronics. Are we becoming more dependent on machines? And what is the benefit of our future society with sensors ground? Balaji, I fully agree. It's not only IT and electronics, but also communication. Okay, so it's a combination of three and not two, which is going to come, which is the IoT. I'm not saying we are making more dependent on machines, but our decision making is making faster and more accurate. How can I get more data and correct and online data so that I can take correct and quick decision is what Internet of Things will be able to make us. And what is the benefit to the future society? As we said, the three kind of challenges is the current world is facing: the old age, the urbanization, as well as the climate change. In all three, I'm expecting IoT to make significant changes. Dr. Bhatnagar, congratulations for a good presentation. Thank you. My question is about entrepreneurs and startups industry in India imitating the West and making a service provider startup ecosystem. Startup ecosystem. What will it take to break the cycle and start innovation? I am happy that you asked me this question. It is the startup India and the kind of the fast track money. I was with one of the senior people in the government of India, where we were talking about the same thing: the Startup India initiative, the Mudra loan, and many. What is required? Required is you are allowed to open a company fast. How can you get different kind of the money required to win or run or fail? I'm seeing these things happening, and I'm really very encouraged by the way the government is working to see how to get this. This is excellent, and have some basic question. Appreciate if you can explain basics of digital transformation and specifically how analytics is part of enable digital transformation, or how SAP HANA is called digital transformation platform. I won't get into that digital SAP HANA part. Digital transformation, if I start thinking, how can I use the mobile phone? And Uber, Ola, Flipkart, Snapdeals, all are examples of digital transformation. Okay. Many times we see what is Uber. Uber is not a car rental company. It doesn't own even a single car. It's an IT digital platform. Okay. Snapdeals, Flipkarts. If you remember, not last year, but last to last year, when first time I think Snapdeal started their work in India on Diwali day. On one day, they sold for 600 crore rupees. Okay. In one day, the transaction was that. This is called digital transformation. How you transform your business, how you change the way you do business with the digital technologies is what is required. The analytics help you to sell what people need, to talk to the people, what people like or your customer wants. And that's where the analytics works. Though I was talking to in a healthcare conclave, and the idea was, and I first ask you a different question. Majority of us, if we start thinking, when did we go to a bank last time and for what? And we'll realize that it has been number of months that we might not have gone to a physical bank. And there is a possibility that the banks might not be, physical banks might not be required. Similarly, there's in the healthcare industry, there is a possibility that the hospitals might not be required in the next 20-25 years, because by diagnosing, by having the DNA genetic tests, and by having predictability analytics, we'll be able to predict for this kind of genetics, for this kind of symptoms, what kind of problems that a person can have, and we can save people going to the hospitals. So digital transformation is that SAP HANA is more like a the unstructured data capturing platform from SAP. I don't want to give any kind of comment on that. Hello Rishi, you talked about interoperability and privacy. Isn't it these two things are connected? Yes, they are connected. I fully agree that these two are connected, but privacy is slightly bigger than interoperability, because in privacy, sometimes your data is also there, which might not be required. Interoperability also include the kind of the connectivity providers changing from one location to the other. Hi Rishi, while I see that you have showcased how large-scale industrial implementation will impact the IoT environment, what do you think will be the impact of the consumer first-centric app or initiatives? What do you think will be the impact of the consumer first-centric applications or initiative? Honestly, I'm not able to understand the question properly, but to me, we need to find what the consumer needs. And if the consumer need is what we capture in our app, I'm sure that initiative will work. How do you see the IoT play in the transmission and distribution of power? Transmission, the smart grids will be able to help power coming from different power generating techniques or areas, and how can we manage it? The distribution, the smart meters will be able to save huge amount of distribution losses. Most of the around 35 to 40% of the energy loss is because of distribution. So a person is having an AC at home and AC is driving more, you are paying less because of faulty meters or some kind of theft, and all these kind of things will be able to help. How difficult it will be to target urban local body to adopt IoT solutions like the water management. The Clean Ganga initiative will force them to adopt it. It's more of the willingness of the government that is visible right now, and the implementation challenges will definitely be there. We are a huge country, but my expectation is that seeing the benefits, there is no other way. You can't have 2 million medical professionals in next 4 years or 3 years. You need multiple number of years to create that many number of medical professionals. Similarly, if you have to see Ganga and in 1900 kilometers long river, and how much pollution has been put into this river by whom, it's a huge challenge, and it cannot be done without having the local bodies adopting to the IoT solutions. Thanks for the wonderful presentation. If you have to list top 3 industries that will set the benchmark of IoT adoption in India, what those would be? Manufacturing, then energy, and then healthcare. That's what my bet is. When you say IoT, is it about majority of data analysis for exploring new businesses for the entrepreneur, or really a cost reduction of cost in the existing scenario? Honestly, in a factory kind of model, it's more of a cost efficiency that starts with, and slowly the kind of data that is generated will result into the analytics and the kind of money you can generate out of it. So it's combination of both, starting with the cost efficiency, because that will make the business case to invest, and slowly how to take it to the next level. Do you think IoT would be secure, as this is the network or mobile, a thing, and can be hacked very easily? I have been asked such kind of questions a number of times. The kind of, there are 3 levels of security, and the security breach happens even now. Sometimes, whether you have a very secure environment or not. The first is the security policy, what you need to adhere to, what should not happen. Then providing the security testing and penetration vulnerable testing to ensure that these kind of guidelines are ensured. And the third level is to keep on monitoring that if it happens, how to handle it. In all 3 levels, we'll have to do it. But my expectation is that we'll be able to reduce these kind of hacking in future. And even today, we have been able to do certain amount of things. It is a challenge, but the amount of benefits it will generate, is much more than to be scared of the kind of security hacking. When do you think the standard will be defined on the IoT front, and how will the innovators and not just existing players contribute, since you categorically stated that the overall revenue will remain largely the same and only the revenue distribution will shift? Okay, first, in my slide I have shown that around 3.5 trillion will be changed, but approximately 300 plus billion will be additional revenue. So 350 billion additional revenue is also not a small amount. Okay, so there's a huge new revenue potential that will be there. So that is a correction to your question. The second, the standards, the draft standards have already come out in India, and there are a number of standard bodies that are working on. I am more worried about more standard organization coming with more standards than a one for all, and that is what my biggest worry is. I am not more worried about the standards. My question is how IoT can be applied to space research program. Honestly, the Mars satellite, which is Mars spaceship, is an ideal example of Internet of Things. Okay, all the data and all the sensors that are getting the data, it is how big and how complex the solution is. It's a highly complex and cost lot of investment required kind of solution. So the space research program is already the IoT solution. First, second, I recently heard that from the space research team of India, they are now helping 170 different departments of governments to see what kind of data they can get from them and how can they utilize it. So it is a huge benefit that the kind of data these satellites are capturing, how it is sent back to the relevant departments, and they can quickly decide on what can be the way forward, and they can work on it. IoT has a key dependency on availability of IP addresses for the service providers and consumer products, which depend largely on IPv6 readiness of the service provider. Do you see this as a challenge for fast rollout of IoT? And what, according to you, are the strategy to, honestly speaking, IPv6 will also become small for the current the way the things are growing, and there is a team which is already working on seeing how will they handle that kind of challenge. So IPv6 is more or less a done deal kind of thing, but we are now thinking of seeing for the next generation of the IoT solution we'll require many more IPs and how to handle that kind of dependency. So there is a fast track definitely required, and we are working on, and the organizations are working on it. Repeating my question 2, thank you for a good talk. I have a few questions. First, the cost of hardware sensor or scale of billions deployment would be a big problem given that the manufacturing of sensors in India is limited at present. Let me answer this. The manufacturing can happen anywhere in the globe. Definitely the amount of sensors required and the kind of fab available and the capacity available, that's a challenge. The companies which are chip manufacturers are currently seeing how will they handle it, and they're trying to see how real these demands are. So there is no doubt it's billions of deployments and the billions of the manufacturing needs are there, and India do not have that capacity. But that is what Make in India is. We are asking people to come and invest in India to make, and I'm sure we'll be able to get these kind of investments done. Also, is there any role of the IET IoT panel to help boost startups in this space? Definitely yes. We are really working on hackathons and investing on mentoring these startups in all over India to see how can we encourage and help them from this kind of knowledge we have and help them in growth. I am personally nurturing some of the the startups, and the whole panel is working on seeing how can they create more hackathons, how can they create more startup in ecosystem, labs, and mentor them. How does a startup approach further? A startup can to IET panel, they can send an email to me and I can take it forward. How will precision farming help Indian agriculture grows? The precision farming, the quality of soil, the amount of rain, the kind of crop, the kind of pesticides, urea which is required to be used, all these kind of things if are available, and that can be precision, I am sure that will help and will be able to provide more benefit to the farmers. So how can I help in farmers' language so that they can understand and create more is what we need to see. What can be the role of IoT in transport management in any urban city? I am currently working on transportation as a service and how can I create less chaos on the road and make more transportation better on the Internet of Things kind of solution. How can I cover, I'm not sure how many of you are aware, the Nirbhaya contract or the Nirbhaya contract is the GPS GPRS device that is to be put into all public transportation. By knowing that, if I will be able to create that roadmap and say which all vehicles are working in which direction and where they are moving, I'll be able to guide them and say which particular route they should take, and that is going to have a huge control on the and help in the transportation. Thanks, Dr. Bhatnagar, for a wonderful presentation on IoT. I have very simple question. Thank you. Do you have any limitation on IoT in energy power sector, healthcare sector? For example, a silly question. Can we handle stopping a running train in a button click from a mobile? Yes, we can do it. The Reva car of Mahindra is an example of how you can switch on the AC, switch on the radio, switch off, close the doors of a car using your mobile phone. And such kind of solutions are really available. We need these kind of sensors, and this is not a technology which is to be invented. This is a technology to be implemented. Okay, so we have all those kind of technologies. It requires different kind of scale. So for your specific question, can we stop a train using a mobile phone? The answer is yes. I can switch on, switch off the AC and control a car right now. I'm sure I'll be able to do it for a train. There will be few experiments, few things that will be required. How IoT can transform development project of Government of India, and how they can IoT help NGOs. I honestly don't know how NGOs can be helped by IoT, but they can utilize the kind of data analytics and help in formalizing their solutions and what they are doing. The Government of India projects, they currently, what I understand, if I just take the Ganga rejuvenation plan, if out of these 700 plus, there's around 8 states where the Ganga flows, and there are 700 plus municipalities and there's a 1900 kilometers. I'm not sure how many number of factories throwing their garbage and pollutants into the river. If all of them can be seen from one single location, that's the huge thing we can do, and that's how it will help in implementing the solution faster, and monitoring and governance will be better. Does IoT have any framework that is adhered to? I have written a book on enterprise IoT, and the third chapter of that book is a complete framework of how to implement an IoT solution, and that book is available, and I can share with you the guidelines. If you have such a question on this, send me an email and I'll help you. Sir, don't you think majority of the population of India don't know how to use most of the IoT products? Most of the Indian users were not even aware of mobile phone. How can I make my solution good and easy is my job. And how to, today billion people are using mobile phone. Billion people is a huge number, and maybe around 30-40% of them might be illiterates. Okay, they might not have basic education, and still they're using it. So I am expecting that we have, with our innovative mind, we'll be able to bring some innovation and user friendliness, that we'll be able to ensure that our solutions are used and they are able to do it much faster.
This is the last question.
Sorry?
This is the last question.
Okay, this is the last question. Okay. So thank you very much for your time and patience. I'm not sure if you have my email ID. If you have, please send me more questions and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you very much.